guys, it is me, Jacqueline, for today's video. I'm going to show you guys the books I read for the month of August. I read a total of 6 books, so let's just jump right on into the wrap up. The first book I read this month was The Crown's Game, and this is by Evelyn Skye. I gave this book a 3.25 out of 5 stars. I actually have a whole entire separate book review for this book up on my channel. It is non-spoilery, so I will leave that on the screen as well as down below if you want to know more of my thoughts on this book. If you don't know what this book is about, it is a YA debut novel that came out in May. It is a historical fantasy book since it actually takes place in Russia during the 1800s and there's magic involved. I think my favorite thing actually about this book was the setting itself. It is so fantastic and so well done. But there were some other issues that did affect my rating negatively, and that's why I gave it such a weird rating. Yet again, if you want to know more of my thoughts, I have a whole entire review up on my channel. The next 3 books I read are actually the 3 books a part of the Remnant Chronicles series by Mary E. Pearson. The first book is The Kiss of Deception, and this was actually a reread for me. The first time around, I gave this book a 4.5, and I actually stood with that 4.5 rating when I read this book again. I actually got to meet the author this month, which was so awesome as well. On the inside, she wrote, "For Jacqueline, so great to meet you, Mary E. Pearson. I adore this series, and I knew the final book, a part of this series, was coming out, and so I decided to actually marathon this series, which was so awesome, and I absolutely loved getting to reread this first book." The second book is The Heart of Betrayal, and this was actually the first time I got to read this book, and I thought it was such a strong second book. I really loved it. I think there were just so many unique factors that got played into this book that really made me enjoy it. Overall, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and yet again, this book is also signed. Then the third and final book a part of this series is The Beauty of Darkness. I gave this book a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I loved it, but I did have some issues with it. I actually have a whole entire non-spoilery book review video for this entire trilogy slash series. If you want to check that out to hear all of my thoughts on this entire series, I will leave that video down below. Like I said, it is non-spoilery, and this is one of my all-time favorite series, and I cannot believe it is over. And then for the final book she signed, "For Jacqueline, thanks for sharing the journey." The next book I read, I was actually sent by the author's assistant, Mel. I want to thank her so much for sending me Born Sinner. This is by S.L. Jennings. This book came out this month on the 23rd. It is the author's 10th book, and I haven't actually ever heard of this author, which is insane because I really enjoy this book. I gave it a 4 to 5 stars. If you haven't heard of this book, it is a new adult paranormal book, and I know you're probably like, oh lord, but I really enjoyed the main concept of this book. I also have another book review for this book, which I will leave on the screen as well as down below. It is so hard to say and describe this book non-spoilery wise, but I think I did a good job in that video. So pretty much it is a new adult book that features a lot of mature scenes. I would definitely recommend to be of a certain age if you want to read this book. And then it's paranormal in the whole demon aspect that is involved. And that's all I'm going to say because you don't want to read too much into this book because it is so good. And I cannot wait for the next book in this series. I don't know when it's going to be coming out. I actually don't know how many books are going to be a part of this series, which is so sad because yet again, I really enjoyed this book and there is such a major cliffhanger at the end and I need more. The final book I read this month was Girl in Pieces, and this is by Kathleen Glasgow. This book I actually got during BEA/BookCon. It is one of my most anticipated reads for this year, and sadly I do feel like it fell sort of short for me just because I felt that I overhyped it a lot. If you haven't heard of this book, this is a YA contemporary book that deals with a girl who self-harms. Self-harm is very personal to me, so I was just really not excited but anticipating this book nonetheless, and yet again sadly it did fall short. This book came out yesterday and I actually posted my review video for this book yesterday as well, so I will leave that on the screen as well as down below if you want to know exactly what sort of got me to not give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Those are all the books I read for the month of August. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, or let me know what books you read this month, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!